Another great episode of PFREI, a passion for real estate investments. I'm your host, Fuquan Bilal. We have very special guest on the show today, Carrie Reyment. So let me just read your bio real quick before we jump into it. So you got started in late 2016. You bought his first duplex in December 2016. Now wholesales about 50 to 60 properties per year and own about 100 rental units, consistently mostly multifamily. And you have some Airbnb and some short-term vacation rental stuff as well.
Yes, sir.
Some single-family lease options on properties also. So you haven't been market cycle tested yet because you started in 2016. So jump on into that. But before we jump to that, the first question I always ask the guests is, why are you passionate for real estate investing?
Well, thanks again, Fuquan, for having me on, man. It was great to meet you here in the last couple of days out in California and get to know you a little better. And as far as why I'm passionate about real estate, man, I think I was always searching for some kind of vehicle to sort of free me, if you will, from corporate America. I did network marketing for a while, and while it was great, it wasn't the right vehicle for me long term to do that. And then, like everybody else, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm like, this is the vehicle to free me. And so it has been able to do that in the sense of it's been able to free me from having to work to wanting to work now. And I get to work for myself, and now we have a team and employees, and we get to provide jobs and all these other fun things. And so for me, it's just been so rewarding, this whole real estate game. And now I teach it to other people and I see them having success, and it's just, it's the ripple effect happening. And I just love it. I think it's such a great vehicle for really anybody and everybody who's looking for something to give them a little bit more than what maybe they're currently experiencing in maybe a corporate setting.
That's awesome. Hold on. Had to work instead of wanting to work. I had to ring the bell for that, because that's freedom in itself. And that's really what most of us get involved in real estate for, is to have the freedom to do what we want to do when we want to do it. I didn't even plug your company. Fox Cities is the company, ladies and gents. So let's jump right into it. 50, 60 wholesales per year. So first of all, wholesaling is really big. It's always been, but now more than ever, a lot of people are gravitating towards it because it's a low cost of entry. So they think it's a low cost of entry. Most people think, I can go to a RIA, find a deal, connect the people, sell it, And I see stuff all over Facebook, how wholesalers evaluate properties and stuff like that. So there's a little bad stigma around that, but somebody who's doing 50, 60 property years, that's a lot. Let's jump into that first. Let's talk about the systems and processes that go into that to be a successful wholesaler, because people just think this theory, they'll just tie it up and sign a contract and make money. And
right.
It's marketing, it's systems, it's processes. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. I mean, somebody could certainly go wholesale a deal, but I think a lot of people get started in wholesaling because they think that's the easiest way to start in real estate. And I actually think it's one of the hardest ways to start in real estate, because you have to get that property lower than a flipper or any landlord's going to be able to pay for that property in order to make some money and really provide value to the marketplace, right? If you just, like you said, you just get a property that's 5% below retail, then you're really not doing anybody any favors and you're wasting a lot of time. So as far as systems and processes go, man, going back, our system before used to be a piece of paper and we'd handwrite this little lead sheet. That was our original system. And now obviously being a part of some groups like Collective Genius with you and some other things, you pick up some things that can make life a little bit easier. And so we use a handful of different systems. In fact, it's actually a little pain point for us where we'd love to have one central place that we could do everything through, which I don't know if that's reality or not. Maybe you know something out there I don't, but currently we use a system called Investor Fuse 2.0 for like our follow-up. So lead generation for us isn't necessarily a problem. More so what do we do with those leads is the problem. And so we had a old CRM that nobody's ever heard of called Insightly in real estate. I'd say that and everybody's like, what is that? So we still actually use a component of that as a part of our system. And really we use that more for reporting and tracking our results and things like that for developing our KPIs. We use CallRail that's our lead inbound system. So we put a different phone number on every little postcard that we send out, and then we tag that in our system so we know like what list they were on or what marketing piece we sent, so we can track that and get really granular on our data and figure out what's working and what's not working by, is the phone ringing when we send those pieces out. We use Mojo Dialer, which is an outbound dialing system, and that's been really good. We don't use it as much as probably a lot of other businesses do, but that helps us generate some leads when there's a lull in the leads. And then we just started using Lead Sherpa, which you probably got to hear from Jason at the event. Yeah. That's been really good. That's a FCC compliant texting service, which has been fantastic. So those are some of the bigger systems. So there you can see there's a lot that we use to operate this machine now, versus the old send one postcard and write it down on a piece of paper system. We
just talked about the system that you use, but then there's another layer to that, right? Somebody has to manage all of that to make sure that it's getting done. So you have the systems, and then you have the person, to manage it, and then you have to get the KPI, the key performance indicators. For people who listen to the call may not know what a KPI is. You get the key performance indicators to kind of track where you are, the growth, the bottlenecks, and everything else, to be able to shift things around and make it happen. So for all of you, those of you who are listening, who are thinking about getting into wholesale, you must have a plan with a purpose, and then you have to have the right systems in place in order to scale this thing to the next level. I mean, the capital, you can find a capital. There's plenty of capital out there. People worry so much about, where do I find the money, or where do I find the deal? And they forget about the infrastructure, which is most important. So that's great. Let's talk about now the challenges that you have in the wholesaling arena. What are some of the challenges there?
Yeah, well, I mean, closing deals is always a challenge. I mean, again, we're asking people, and we're trying to find people who are really interested in, selling their property at a pretty big discount. And so that's always a big challenge of trying to just filtering through the people who want to sell versus qualifying the people who are a good candidate for our type of a transaction. The other challenge is always finding good people. Our team is awesome right now. We have a really good core group of people on our team, but it's always a challenge to find people, for sure. So
yeah, that's definitely, you find good people, and then a few years later you have to replace them because they don't have the same performance as when they started. So it's always a turnover with that. Now you transition into generating some passive income, or some income from rentals as well. So you had the wholesale thing you build out and create a mastery there. Yeah. And then you started to get into rentals. Why did you just why did you just transition into that? Why did you add that part on to your business model, I should say?
Yeah, great question. I mean, honestly, when we started wholesaling, like going back to 2016, our journey was really, we wanted to buy rentals. We didn't even know what wholesaling was. I had no idea this was even a real sector of real estate or really any business. And, at the time, just like now, the market was really hot, and I'm looking at properties online on the MLS, and I'm going, you know what, like, how am I ever going to get a property that cash flows at the number I needed to? And we're really big on the burst strategy. And that was the strategy we wanted to employ. I didn't have hardly any capital when I started real estate, saved up or anything. So I'm like, how can I get into these properties with low or no money down? And to find them where they were deep enough discounted to be able to, use the burst strategy, there was just nothing on the market that made sense. And then I'm like, I don't want to go give up 25%, put 25% down on these things. And so that's where we really kind of just kept asking questions of like, okay, well, how do people do this? How are they finding these properties, to be able to do this strategy? And that's where we came across wholesaling. And so actually we started sending out our marketing, and I think it was like September of 2016. We sent it to an absentee owner list, which is basically just a list of, you could buy off of like listsource.com or whatever, where for those who don't know, maybe it means that somebody owns the property, but they don't live at the property, or they get mail at a different address. And so typically it indicates a landlord potentially. So we sent that out for like 4 months, and then we finally got somebody who, like, I'm running the numbers. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think this is a good deal. I'm going to buy this thing. It was a upper lower duplex, or 2-family. And so I bought that thing on December 30th of 2016. At the same time, my wife and I had moved from our house in Green Bay, which is where we're from, out to a little small town where I grew up. And we were there for like 6 months and we hated it. And so we're like, gosh, we just spent all this money on this house. We haven't really done a ton of improvements. Now, if we go sell it, we're going to have to pay a crazy amount of realtor commissions to sell this thing. And we're going to take a bath on this property. So how can we get out of this house and get back into Green Bay without taking a bath? And so we found somebody who wanted to do a rent to own or a lease option on our house. And that closed like 3 weeks after our duplex. And then all in between there, we did our first wholesale deal. So we kind of got like a buffet of real estate, like all at once in a short, we went from like nothing to like, boom, like three transactions all at once. And so we got to test out like, okay, we like wholesaling. We loved that. It was just quick, easy cash. Like, there wasn't anything we had to fix up or anything else. So we loved that. We liked the rental piece. We did the BRRRR. It worked out pretty much to perfection. And so we did a couple more BRRRRs. We ended up doing some flips in there. I mean, like I said, we wanted to kind of try out a lot of different things. And at the end of the day, we picked up a few more duplexes. And then we kind of put that to the bed for a little bit. And we're like, let's just get like laser focused on wholesale. That we love it. Let's do that. And this will get me out of corporate America. That was the original job, or the original reason why we started real estate overall, was to figure out the right vehicle to get me out of corporate America. And then once we started diving into real estate, we realized, oh my gosh, there's like 900 different vehicles within real estate investing that you can choose. So we had to kind of filter through that and figure out which vehicle was going to fit us the best. And wholesaling was going to get us out the quickest, the cleanest. We're also big on tithing. And so like for us, this sounds really crazy, but when we would flip a property, it was like hard to figure out what the heck we even made on a thing, because there's all these other little trailing invoices and bills that show up like a month or two later. And so we're like, wholesaling, we know exactly what we made on the deal. It's easy to give our 10% to our church. Easy peasy. Let's go with wholesaling. It's simple, easy. And so we started to do that. And then once we built up a pretty consistent basis, we started to kind of shift back to the long-term freedom of, wholesaling is a job at the end of the day. And so how can we build something that's passive, where if everything goes to heck in a handbasket, and wholesaling is no longer a thing, or some law change comes in and it just wrecks everything, how can we still protect our family and protect our future? And that's where getting into the multifamily apartment space was really attractive to us. And so then we started to kind of shift a little bit and start to look for some of those here and there. It wasn't really a big focus. Still isn't like a huge focus for us. It's just, let's put in some effort and work some of those leads direct to seller, same way we do wholesale, but then we just keep them instead of wholesaling them out.
That's awesome. And then you took it a step further and started leveraging those rental units, doing Airbnb, the short-term rentals.
Yeah, through our wholesaling business, we've we only picked up one through wholesaling. The other one we actually just bought off of the MLS with a partner of ours, actually one of our hard money lenders in town. We do a lot of business back and forth where he funds a lot of our buyers in our wholesaling. And we're good friends, and we both love a certain area. It's called Door County, Wisconsin. It's like the thumb of Wisconsin up here, and that's where my wife is from. And there was a cheap condo, and we loved the area, and we're like, hey, let's pick this thing up just for fun. So we Airbnb that. We don't really make a ton on that thing. But we didn't, both Airbnbs, we didn't buy for an income necessarily. We bought like, hey, if somebody else can pay our debt and we can break even and still use the places, that's a win for us. And so the other one we picked up through wholesaling, it's right on the water right here, right in Green Bay. Beautiful little area. And so we had to spend a little bit of money and rehab it, but that's been actually really profitable, which was great. We didn't expect it to be as profitable as it has been in a short period of time. So that's
that's awesome. So you got a wholesaling going, multifamily ramped up to 100 plus rental units, and then you got two pieces that you're leveraging doing Airbnb. So are you sharing the knowledge and wealth with others? Are you teaching others these strategies? Are you giving back?
Yeah, absolutely. Like locally here, we do, myself and that hard money lender, we do a thing to help, people who are interested in the BRRRR strategy. We teach them, we have like an hour and a half, like seminar we put on for free. We just do it to give back and to hopefully, for us selfishly, both of us, if we can empower people to do the business locally, I can get them in a position to buy more of my wholesale deals. He can get people in a position to use his lending. It helps us if they're out taking action, it helps everybody. But if they don't ever do a deal with us, whatever, it's great. We have plenty of people that come to this stuff and they have amazing success stories where they increase their net worth overnight by hundreds of thousands of dollars by utilizing some of the real estate strategies that we're helping them with. So that's been really rewarding to do. And then we're going to start offering a like a nationwide coaching program through Wholesaling Inc. coming up to teach people the same first strategies that we've been using in our business. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Now, 2016, you started.
Yep.
Haven't been through a downturn.
Yes.
How are you protecting yourself to avoid the big doom and gloom era that everyone is talking about that's coming? The market reset, the market's going to crash, and the reason is happening, and everything else. There's fake statistics out there. Be careful. What are you doing to protect yourself with that? Because I remember, for me, it was very tough. I started in '99 and rode the wave all the way until there was no more waves to ride. And, I have a diversified strategy now, and I see that you put some things in place, as you mentioned, for long-term rentals and Airbnb. But how are you protecting yourself from any future situations like that?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think that's the battle. I think when you're somebody like myself who hasn't been through the downturn and you're trying to start out to build a portfolio or build a business, is like I have to take on probably more risk than maybe you do, who's more matured, maybe more in your portfolio building or things like that. So to answer the question, as I'm acquiring, these multifamily properties or whatever, I'm using the same buying criteria I do when I'm buying or when I'm putting a wholesale deal under contract. I'm looking for, I'm just not going out picking up anything. I'm trying to buy this thing where it's low enough that, hey, if all things go crazy and I have to cut, my rental rates, hundreds of dollars to keep them full or get them somewhat occupied, I'm still going to be able to cover the debt. That's my big thing. How do I just at least cover the debt on these properties? And so I'm always kind of looking at, whatever I can say worst case scenario, but you and I both know I have no idea what that actually means as far as if and when that comes. So that's one area. Another thing we're looking to do is, as we continue to build our wholesaling business, is taking the profit, the excess profit that we have, and paying off debt on a lot of these properties to get some of those released. And so if things go down, we've got some potential liquidity in some of these that we could maybe sell them or leverage that debt to, collateralize it with something else. So we're trying to pay off a lot of the stuff that we have and not continue to just accumulate massive amounts of over leveraged debt. That's really not our goal. We're trying to buy smart, make sure that we're not overpaying for properties, and just keep ourselves with a buffer there so that if things tank, we're here. And in our world, in the multifamily space, assuming the banks don't call the note due, or we can't refinance it if and when that thing comes up, that's probably the biggest risk for us. We're looking like, hey, can we just hold these things through a downturn and get through it, and still, again, be able to cover that debt and stashing away cash as it comes and putting that in some safety buckets to, kind of like we learned what Jason does, Jason Medley from Collective Genius. There's the no, don't touch it bucket. So we're just putting money into some of those buckets too, of just cash reserves, hanging on to it for a rainy day in case, hopefully it doesn't, but if and when it does come, we'll have some cash available too.
Yeah, I think it's important to stress test your business and do calculations as if, you earn 20% less on certain investments. How will your cash flow look then?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's important for every business owner, whether they're in real estate or whatever, to do, those certain tactics to kind of see what their lifestyle would be at that point, and if what they have going on would be able to, income they have coming in would be able to cover it. So that's definitely important.
Yep.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to plug any social media stuff where people can find you at on social media or a website where people can reach you at. This is very valuable. I definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing your wealth of knowledge. It's good to see different types of investors who I bring to the show, whether it's seasoned investors or newer investors, because most people who's new and get in, they don't have the confidence, they have the fear. You've been, for 3 years and crushing it, and you get the momentum going, and you have things in place to protect yourself against any future downturns. Or what, last parting words or anywhere people can contact you or reach you for some additional educational information?
Yeah, I think if they just search me up, I'm pretty active on Facebook. I think if they just search Corey Reyment, I think it's Corey Reyment REI. I think they'll find me on there, or just search Corey Reyment, either my personal page, or I have another Facebook page that's more like business page. They can find me on there. And then on Instagram, You can search me up. It's Corey, Corey, and then last name is Reyment. They should be able to find me on either of those platforms. I'm pretty active. Parting words, I would say, Fuquan, just probably like you did back in '99, man. Real estate's a blessing if you work it and you treat it like a business. I just encourage anybody, if you're thinking about getting your foot in, just take the leap and get your first deal, because that's the thing that catapults you and gives you the confidence to go on and do whatever you want to do with it. But it takes that first deal to really kind of overcome some of the fears, I think, that'll paralyze a lot of people.
That's awesome, man. Thanks again. I appreciate it. Another great episode of PFREI. I'm your host, Fuquan Bilal. Be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all of the other social media platforms. Thanks, Corey. I really appreciate it, man.
You bet, man. I appreciate you having me on.